Okay, welcome to the Community Engagement Commission, a special meeting workshop, Monday, May 13th at 6:00 p.m. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Okay, I'll do roll call. Commissioners, Aaron Asmuth,
Here.
Summer Darrell,
Here.
Arlene Fisher-Mara,
Here.
Bill Norman.
Here.
Is Mark Sava on Zoom? He was thinking about.
No, that's not.
Okay, then I'd like to ask that Mark Sava be excused, and it looks like Cynthia Gamboni, she may come late, though. So if someone could make a motion.
I'll make a motion to,
Oh, do we need a motion for that?
I think we're good.
Did Cynthia tell you she may be late?
No, but I just know that she has a aggressive schedule.
You want to make a
I'll
motion?
make a motion to excuse Mark and Cynthia.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Still let her in if excused her.
So tonight we have a special workshop with Lisa Key and her department. And I'm sorry, I didn't, can I get your name again?
Yeah, hi, I'm Lance Mueller. I'm the associate planner here.
Hey, Lance.
Hi,
Hi, Lance, welcome.
hi, nice to meet you
You'll
all.
have a lot of fun, I think.
Yeah,
And so if you remember from the last meeting, maybe it's a few meetings ago, Lisa provided us a PowerPoint presentation with regards to the comp plan and the update that she will be basically 2 years will be probably of her life will be spent doing this. And but one of the major components, a component of this is public participation, and we want to support her department and the planning commission in this endeavor. So with that, I will let Lance go ahead and start the meeting, the workshop meeting.
okay. Yeah, so today I'm going to talk to you about our public participation plan or for our public engagement plan for the comprehensive plan update. You can go on to the next slide. Okay, so first off, these are just this is a revised code of Washington, explaining why we have to do this plan, basically because the Washington codes say we have to do it. So we have to create a public participation program and disseminate that to the public. Next slide. And here's a Washington Administrative Code, just stating that we don't have to do a public participation plan for each element of the comprehensive plan. We can do one public participation plan for the whole update. And by broad dissemination, I mean that once we create this public engagement plan, we just need to make it available on our website and at the local library and provide a notice in the newspaper. Next slide. So when I began this project, there's a few cities who have already begun their comp plan update process. So I wanted to gather some information on what they had done for public outreach. And I looked at several different cities, and there's some things that happened over and over again. A lot of these cities created a specific page on their website dedicated to the comp plan update. They all held a kickoff meeting, a sort of big event to excite the community and inform the community of the update that was occurring. And social media was also heavily used. And in the public buildings, they put posters together explaining about the update so that when anybody was in City Hall, they could tell the update was occurring, or in the library and post office. There were a few cities that had some interesting uses, though. There are some interesting examples. Marysville and Lake Stevens, they used GIS to create these story maps, which visually displayed data as far as land use options, what those different options would look like to the public, and which was, I thought, a very nice visual way of being able to represent information. Also, the town of LaConner chose to do very specific targeting of population groups. For seniors, they went to senior centers and retirement homes. And to get the youth involved, they went to the school board to engage the student population. They also, at public events, would have a booth where it said, ask a planner. So the public could come up talk to the planner and see what was going on as far as the update process. Next slide. So every good plan has goals, and for a public participation plan, wanted to provide you some examples. The first one is pretty simple. Inform the public and internal stakeholders of the required elements, language, mandates, and constraints put upon the city for this comp plan update. The second one is provide all residents, property owners, business owners, and other stakeholders, give them an opportunity to understand and participate in the comprehensive plan update process. Next slide. Okay, so we provided a chart here showing the different types of engagement, the different levels of engagement that we can provide. And you can see from left to right, the impact on the plan is increased. So we start out very simply just by informing the public, giving them information. Then we can consult with the public, giving them an opportunity to provide feedback to us. Then we work with the public to involve them in the creating alternatives. So that's the true planning process, creating alternatives. Then we collaborate with them to partner in the decision-making process, which leads to empowerment, which is ultimately them helping to decide how the plan is developed. So this leads us to what are our goals for our comp plan update as far as public outreach goes. So what types of engagement we would like to use, and what is our target audiences that we're going to be looking at? And that's the question I leave up to you guys.
So we want this to be a very, give and take brainstorming sessions, so we want to hear from you, what your thoughts are, on what might our general goals. And in terms of both types of engagement and potentially target audiences. Thoughts?
One thing that occurred to me, and it's been on my mind with regard to engagement, and then Lance, you pointed out earlier that there was a focus on schools.
Mhm.
With the work that we anticipate doing around adding some commissioners to the group, it might be nice if one of them were either a high school senior or perhaps a college student who's living at home, just someone from that student group that would give us input, as then we try to flesh out what engaging students would look like. And I think it would also make an appropriate statement about our interests in including them.
Yeah, I think engagement with the type of people who are already living in those potential scenarios. So if we're looking at, apartments, really focusing on who's living in the apartments right now, getting their current feedback, getting, whatever, talking to people who are living in that reality right now. If there's some conflicts that are coming up, finding the other conflicts in the area and who's experiencing it right now. And just trying to find what their potential solutions are, or what they see the issues are, or any creative ideas from them.
I do think that, just as you've sort of opened my eyes about what the comprehensive plan needs to include and why, I think property owners, I would be surprised if very many of them are very aware of the constraints that our state government is, constraints might not be the right word, the focus that they're trying to get us to develop for different populations. So I think property owners are going to be a big and important audience, especially in terms of trying to help them get to a broader view place, other than just what is on the other side of my fence.
So I think piggybacking on what Bill has said, I don't, just from my experience, I'm not sure that just the typical property owner really understands what comprehensive plans
I
are.
don't think so.
And I think to get them engaged, I think that quite a bit of information somehow has to go out so that they feel that they're a key stakeholder also, so that it's not maybe just the developers who do understand.
Well, I love your Ask a Planner concept, and I personally learned a lot from the recent City Academy
Yeah.
night with you guys. And I was able to ask questions and learn more. So whether that's an Ask a Planner evening or event, or it's a bubble on a website, and instead of just, if you have any questions, contact blah, 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 but if the entire that little bit of the program maybe is the Ask a Planner concept, that to me would be a comfortable and interesting way to engage.
Mhm.
Sort of a, not a real-time chat, but the idea that you really could just ask a planner.
I think to add to what everyone is saying is, you're not gonna get people here at City Hall. You're just not. You've got to go where they go, and these beautiful apartment complexes have community rooms
Mhm.
with full kitchens. I know, Trutina, where I live, beautiful clubhouse community room with full kitchens. Wednesday night, everyone gathers, and they would love to hear from the city. They would, you know, and you don't have to feed them the whole book, but just things that are highlights and important that, because, you know, they drive by and they see, oh my gosh, here's another apartment complex. Oh my gosh, you know, what is the city doing? Well, we can answer those questions, and you got to go to them. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, and you will be very effective. Your residents will know who you are. They can put a face with a name, an idea with a thought. And I think it's just a super effective way to do it. And I'll be happy to join you. I'll go along and
And
shake hands
additionally, I
and
think
help out.
most of the HOAs, if we were to go to them,
Yeah.
they would invite us to participate in a board meeting
Absolutely.
with, I think they'd be enthusiastic about it.
Right. And I think some of these like for us, we have an event every Wednesday night. And, you know, we get everyone from people my age to, you know, people in their 80s, and they come, and it's wine and cheese, and we don't do the wine, but you know, it's an event, and everybody gets together, everybody knows everybody, and everybody found out that I work with the city. So it's like, Arlene, what's going on? It's like, I'm not the expert. So I think it's very important. And I'm sure those apartment complexes have resident night or something. Because they want to involve everybody who live in those buildings. That's the kind of the Greenstone way, I think.
So the other piece I would put out there is you're trying to figure out, you know, what the engagement looks like. Is the nomenclature that you use is also important. So, you know, just like Robin said, you know, people don't understand what the comprehensive plan is
Mhm.
and what that means for a city or a community. So trying to, you know, use verbiage that is less formal, that will help them, you know, help anybody understand what it actually means. Because you say comprehensive plan, you're like, well, that could mean a million different things to everybody.
Sure.
And so trying to use words and phrases, and not only on the website, but also in the posters, that is not as formal and rigid, because for you, it makes sense.
Mhm.
You do it. It's you. It's the thing you do. You build the comprehensive plan. You know, property owner myself, I have no idea what that means, right? I mean, so it's trying to figure out what are the words that make sense, that will get the message across, so it doesn't lose the importance of it, but allows for a broader understanding of what it is that you're actually trying to accomplish. So I think the words you choose being less formal as much as possible,
Mhm.
the better. You know, in part just, you know, if you think about it, like, you know, am I going to pick up a book off the shelf that's, you know, hardbound legalese textbook, or am I going to pick up, you know, something, you know, a magazine that's of interest? I'm going to pick up the magazine of interest because it's it's speaking to me in my language.
Mhm.
I'm not going to pick up, you know, the hardbound textbook just for fun, right? So trying to use those words that tie into the community, I think will be extremely important in that process too.
Okay, now I have a ridiculous idea for a creative
Oh, gosh.
engagement here. We're gonna have you know, not a full-on graphic novel, but something I did find I really enjoyed the graphic that had the different time frames for the different counties. To me, that showed it was a statewide thing. We were gonna at some point have to deal with this, and it just showed me that story visually, and it also made it it was a legal requirement in some way. So that was very clear to me. But in a way out there kind of way, I could imagine some sort of cartoony aspect
Absolutely.
to this.
Well, and so I think that's a really great point. One of the things that we have done this year as part of our budget is we actually purchased GIS Urban, which is a type of, it's a tool that creates different scenarios and you can help visualize those scenarios. We're also talking about incorporating
Mhm.
as a way to tell us word and
Sorry. We're also planning on trying to use Story Map as a way to incorporate those scenarios and tell the story, and have had the opportunity to use that in other communities very effectively.
Great.
And so we are thinking along those lines. Those are just early thoughts, and we're looking for more thoughts like that from you for
And I
sure.
would pitch the idea of a cartoon little avatar of one of y'all or somebody who's like one of y'all as the Ask a Planner person.
Yeah. absolutely.
And not a full bore version of that, but just pops up every once in a while. That's my attempt at something.
I think one audience that you may want to consider on this also is, since after the last, we had a ordinance change within our own CEC 119. And one of the things I did find out by city council was that the lake people do mean a lot to that they're considered, even though they're not in Liberty Lake proper, they are considered Liberty Lake. And so I think that may be something to consider within your audiences.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that audience in particular, it can be easy to leave out because they're not technically
Right.
residents within the city boundaries. But
That they're
they-
important.
they still should be included. I mean, their kids go to all their kids go to the schools.
They go shopping.
They go shopping, or I mean,
Yep.
you know, I mean, yes, that can get mushy when you start going, okay, well, do we include Otis Orchards and these other like outlying areas that are fringe to the city boundaries? I think it's easier to exclude those but to include the lake residents in this conversation from a planning standpoint.
Well, I think that's a really good point also. And one of the things I will say is that we have an obligation to collaborate and get feedback from adjacent jurisdictions. So the county, the unincorporated county that is in our vicinity, as well as Spokane Valley, which butts right up against our western border, are absolutely considered stakeholders in this.
Also, I know, even after just having the night with you guys, I've answered more questions about, is it city, is it county, is it city, is it county? And I could see a place for that, either just a one sheet or a small little list or an interactive list or a Venn diagram. But, you know, is it city, is it county? And that could be part of that GIS system, or it could be, you know, it could be just a info sheet or a talking point.
Well, even state and, you know, city, county, state, where, you know, who's responsible
Yeah,
for
city,
what?
county, state,
You
yeah.
know, it's like,
I like that idea.
Yeah.
So a responsibility chart.
Uh-huh.
yeah.
It's a city,
Yeah,
county, state,
a
something like that.
responsibility chart. That's
And
a
if you
good
want to go
way.
deep, a contact or a something in each of those ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, contact Governor Inslee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
a shruggy emoji.
It's
sorry.
Yeah.
What was that?
Cynthia was on.
Oh, hi Cynthia.
Okay, so let's note that then in the record that Cynthia is present.
Yes, hi all. I've been here for,
So with the, from an engagement or more from an audience standpoint, do you have, or have you thought about the percentage of the different demographics that you're trying to hit, whether it's,
That's,
or is that what you're trying to figure out?
that's.
Okay.
We're asking you to give us some feedback on not just what the demographics, you know what the demographics are.
Right, right.
What are the demographics that we're not successfully engaging?
It's hard to write in,
So,
You know, I
so
don't,
from-
sometimes I don't know if it's oh, I'm sorry.
well, I was just gonna say, from the last survey that was being done, does Mark have the demos from either the multi-page questionnaire that got sent out or anybody that was submitting it online? Do we, like person demographics? Do we have any of the either individual household demographics that we were getting responses from? And so, I mean, that would be a place to be able to analyze at least out of the responses you got and trying to extrapolate from there who you're seeing responses from, and then figure out what holes there are. But that would be a place to start with, I guess Mark would have that data.
that's a great suggestion.
I would
Because-
actually like to see the results of those surveys, because I know we've talked about it. And that's been done, correct? Yeah, this survey,
I mean, yes, yes.
I mean,
still in progress.
in progress. Okay, well, when you're done, I think it would be beneficial for all of us to see those results.
Is it as much demographics, so as it is certain, I think it's demographics, but I also think that it's like groups also, like certain groups will be more interested in this comp
Right.
plan than what others won't. And sometimes that is because of maybe they don't understand the information or they don't know how it impacts them.
So what kind of groups do you, what groups are coming to mind for you that we need to make a point of really reaching out to?
Neighborhood groups, I mean, because the groups that will, I believe, understand this the most is those involved in real estate, the developers, that they'll understand it, but the ones, the neighborhoods,
Business owners,
business owners, yes.
student government groups.
I think various organizations, you know, your Rotary Club meets up at Trailhead. We have our own room up there. Thank you, city.
Mhm.
And groups like that, I mean, they're all Liberty Lake people. You've got Kiwanis, you've got, I don't know how many groups are here. There's a lot, there's a lot of service organizations here that
Mhm.
represent a very huge demographic.
Cynthia, do you have anything? You're online, so I don't want to, do you have any ideas of either its types of engagement and target audiences?
the only thing that came to mind as far as like thinking about large groups of people, I think about churches, our local churches. It's a good place.
Okay,
where
we can't quite hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
No, we're working on it.
It's volume, not muted.
Yeah,
can
it's
type
the
it.
volume.
Do you want me to type it?
They're working on it, Cynthia.
Go for it.
Okay, Cynthia, go ahead and try again.
Okay, I just thought of churches are a large place where people, large numbers of people will gather.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yes.
Excellent.
And I'm sure you guys have the farmer's market tapped, correct? I mean, that, if you get that farmer's market, you got pretty much every demographic. Everyone goes through that farmer's market and they love it.
How aware are we of the usage of the city website, meaning how many discrete,
Unique viewers.
yeah,
Yeah.
are there in a day? And do we know what groups they fit into? And if the answer is no, can we start trying to survey them so that we understand better who it is that's using the website. Because we're gonna come and we've talked about this from the very beginning. We have a robust website that could be powerful. How do we entice more people to use it more frequently? And then what do we do to reach the people that just aren't gonna go there? Back to our mailers
Yeah.
that we funded.
Yeah, see, that's where I'm at, is that you're right, you have a group of people that use the website and all that and Facebook, but then you have that other group that are not. And so to be to be inclusive, you have to consider that and how to do
And
interactive.
I think that transcends
Needs it.
this, but if we could at least begin to solve for that, it would enhance our effectiveness
next
going
slide.
forward.
Yeah, I mean, on the website side of things, I don't know, I can't remember if you were doing pop-up boxes when people visit the website for the first time, or if you've explored that, but that's another option. I mean, that's another option to be able to at least capture the people that are visiting it. So when they go to go to that website, pop-up box, calls up, hey, there's the Ask the Planner
Mhm.
little avatar. So there's Lisa and a popping up saying, hey, this is what we're doing. Here's our comprehensive
I
plan.
think we're gonna have
I mean,
Lisa's avatar up
Yeah,
there.
his up there, okay. So, that's one option to at least capture the people that are there. I think, when you talk about other ways of easily capturing audiences that are not visiting that, we've talked about it before with like postcard mailers and things like that, but those get lost. I think if there was a way to engage, I still feel like if there's a way to engage I think we did it before, but I can't remember, but the water bill that people get, incorporating with a hard water bill, some sort of a buck slip insert of, this is what's going on. It's important. Something that most residents would get. It's still not going to get everybody, and not everybody's going to open it necessarily, but that's another way to potentially capture it. If I can't remember if the city does mailers or if they've already gone out for the backflow testings on the water side of things, but if those haven't gone out, that'd be another way to potentially incorporate.
So just to be clear.
Yep.
Water and sewer is not run by the city. It's a
Yes.
separate water district. And actually, we have several water purveyors and sewer purveyors.
Yep.
So that's a little more challenging.
Yep.
But maybe waste management. Most
Yeah, waste
people-
management would be another one. The waste management's a little challenging just because they bill quarterly, I think, for at least they bill quarterly for me. I don't know about everybody
that
else,
might
but
be-
I mean, that's, and
That
and
might
ours
be
are electronic.
better, if it's a less frequent,
Yeah, it's trying to, like with the water bill, I know I get that in the mail every month, right? The waste management bill, I opted in for electronic, so I never
Oh,
get it.
gotcha.
So that's what I'm saying, like, if you can find ways of something is not a non-electronic means of communication, it eliminates the people that are like, go paperless as much as possible. You're still able to capture those folks through other means. So that's why I mentioned the water bill side of things, because I always get that.
So I kind of like to add to that. That's, you and I have this exact same thought, because my water bill's laying on my countertop right now.
Yeah.
I haven't opened it. And, I know there's, I know that. But if there's some way we could cooperate with the Liberty Lake Water and Sewer District, maybe pay for postage on that round. We can
Oh,
put
they'll
those-
charge us for sure.
Oh, yeah, okay, maybe, and that, because, almost everyone gets that water bill. The lake residents get it,
Well, there's a lot of people are on consolidated irrigation water and
Right.
Spokane County sewer also. So it's about a third of the city is
Okay.
with, has a different purveyor.
then I would just round up my suggestion and say, let's look at the utility bills
Mhm.
from all the
That,
payers. I mean,
that's a good point.
I-
Maybe it's a Vista we should go to.
Well, that's what I was saying, because I think Vista serves at least 99% of Liberty Lake.
But that's a great point. We can explore all those different utilities.
And does it
Yeah,
apply for those of us who do get bills electronically? You can still, you still do whatever we're doing with the physical bill
Mhm.
on the electronic bill.
Yeah, yeah, you can see if there's like an electronic PDF that they get attached to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
So we also wanted to ask you, if there are different types of engagement and different target audiences for different elements. And I've put the elements that we think are gonna require some engagement on, but some of them may be different.
So, I like the idea of having a real person, maybe an MC at our movie night, or, you know, whether that's the mayor adding to sort of welcome speechy, by the way, we've got this going on, or different council members or different whoever's, just sort of, and maybe this is an overall thing, not just for this, maybe for us to think of that as a space for announcements and community announcements. Because a lot of times we have movies in the park or concerts or anything, and there's a perfect opportunity for a couple of little announcements. And if we get used to that in general, I think it helps us know whoever it is the MC or, you know, brings different people to be that person. Maybe eventually a kid can read a page of announcements, you know, some version of that I think would be very engaging, and they're a captive audience, and maybe we can't track what they're getting, but we're able to do that. So in this, I see all of these as being things that could be announcement type things. But also, you know, kids are great. They have goofy ideas. And I grew up, you know, in the 90s with like recycling and all that stuff. And there was a lot of kid engagement of how would you save the world? You know,
Mhm.
draw a picture of this, and then they get put up in the library. And I did tons of that stuff, and it was actually very impactful to me. And maybe the beginning of, you know, civil engagement. So I could see all of these topics as involvement with the school, elementary to older.
Absolutely.
And you could have different, you know, you could certainly have them tailored to the different age groups, or just, you know, maybe little, you know, and a winner doesn't need to get a prize. They could just be posted up in City Hall or get their picture with Chris or something, you know, something.
That's a great idea. Yeah, I mean, you like, you know, so here's a fun little assignment the schools can participate
Yeah,
in.
what would
know,
you,
what would
if you had this land and these were, you know, what would you do? And you might, you know, get a French fry factory, but you know, it makes people think about it.
And even honestly, even engage the parents in the discussion,
Right.
you know, what I mean, because then, you know, the kids come home, they talk
And they're
about,
proud of it.
they're proud of it. Like, this is what I'm doing. I'm learning what a comprehensive plan is.
And I'd be
Like,
much
the
more
kids can teach
interested.
the parents about what the comprehensive plan is.
So that's such a good point. I was actually a garbage,
Because we can't figure it out.
I was actually a garbage geek back in the 90s. I started out I
was on the
started up a curb-
Recycling team, so I hear you.
Yeah, I started up the curbside recycling program in Broome County, New York. And by the time I left that program, we had achieved a documented 57% recycling rate. How did we do it? And this was back in the day before everybody was doing
Yeah.
recycling. And how we did it was we reached out to the kids in the elementary schools. We had a program, we went through cooperative extension to do an education program with the kids, and the kids were the ones that got their parents engaged and involved. The other thing we did was we reached out to the seniors, because the seniors, I'm dating myself, but the seniors at the time had all lived through World War II, where they had to, where they were recycling and reusing because that's what they had to do. That was the patriotic thing to do.
Mhm.
And so those were the two ends of the spectrum that we reached out, and through those two ends of the spectrum, we were able to bring the adults into the equation, the parents into the equation.
Yeah.
So,
And that's fun to match up two demographics too. So if you give the elementary school kids, like, there needs to be a place for seniors, for older people. What would you, you know, how would you take care of this demographic? That
Mhm.
sort of thing.
Or put it to the kids like, where would you put your grandparents?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know,
Where's your-
Kids act- You know, where would you like grandpa to live?
Yeah, yeah. What are the things you think they need? A pool, a
Right.
meeting room.
So I did something similar to what the group has been saying, and I remember, went to a school and planned out a map type of situation and interactive, and said, you know, you get to build your own world. And here is the area, and I gave him a few topographical, here's some water, this is on elevation, this is a nice view. And those types of interactive situations were really helpful for the kids to understand land use planning.
Yeah, I learned a lot from assemblies. I really, I did. And I can see a lot of these topics having a small assembly-like
Yeah.
topic with a take-home activity or something.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a great time, and honestly, right now to probably engage with the school systems themselves because they're getting ready to go on break. They're closing out the year. They're going to be starting to think about what they can incorporate in their planning process for next year. And if they have this as like, hey, this is a fun, creative project that the kids could do over the course of a week or a couple of weeks and at different iterations and what that might look like. I mean, the timing's probably really good to start those conversations and trying to figure out how to build that out. And obviously, you've got some really smart teachers at all the schools in the area who can take the idea and the concept of what you're trying to get out of it and build something that is, both beneficial for the kids and their understanding of government and how it works and their role in it. And then also something that would be, hopefully beneficial for the city from a future planning standpoint.
So there was a program that the hub is putting on, and it's for this summer. It's called Play Unplugged. And so it might be something to consider. You could call the hub. Her name is Lacey Goodson. And so I know that the city library has already joined in on this, but it's for the kids. And it's certain projects that they do. And every time they complete one, then they get like a merit badge or something of that. And if you're interested, that could be something that you could get the kids and the parents involved because there's a reward once the project is done.
That's a great idea, and we will probably be deep enough into the planning by next summer that might be a
Is it-
real
yeah.
possibility.
Maybe, yeah.
So, next slide, please. So we wanted to ask the question, and we've been talking about it, but again, I want to come back to this. Who are our stakeholders? And we have both internal stakeholders and external stakeholders.
Well, one of the things I think we have alluded to consistently when we look at the internal stakeholders and I think our conversations are becoming more favorable to figuring out a way to include the people who live around the lake itself. But I think the more we can be granular in thinking about, for example, citizens, the better we'll do. I think Erin has tried to help us do that as we've been working on surveys, and I don't believe that anybody thinks that we're really there yet, whatever that might mean. But
And thank you for that. That is exactly the point of this question, trying to get down to the granularity. And this is not the first time we're going to have this conversation. We're going to be having this conversation over and over again as we start to develop. But that's really what we're asking. What are the subcategories? What are the different stakeholder groups within our city or external to our city?
we did, it was sort of I don't know, it was a 30,000-foot view, but you showed us what some of the results could look like that looked at the citizens expressed in terms of gender, expressed in terms of age group, expressed in terms of economic situation. I can't remember if
Yeah, I
there
mean,
was
that,
more.
yeah, and I think, and I'm sure Lisa and the team have that data. I mean, it's, the census data and kind of figuring out what percentage of the population falls in what buckets and how does that correlate to where people are? You know, and that can help define the demographics within the area. And at least help guide those conversations to make sure that we're not missing anybody. So going back to the survey analysis side of things with Mark and trying to figure out, you know, what's coming in and what's missing and being able to look at where things are not where are we not getting responses from and how can we engage those citizens more effectively. The other ones that I put on the external stakeholder list, and I brought it up before, and it's one of those pieces like you've got the residents obviously within the city, you've got the Liberty Lake surrounding residents that are, you know, outside of it. The other one that's a stakeholder are the people that come here and do business in the city. So people that come play golf at Trailhead or the other, you know, the county courses or come and eat at the restaurants. I mean, while they may not necessarily be a primary stakeholder as a true resident of the city necessarily, they're still a stakeholder because they're actually participating in business that is keeping, you know, the businesses and people functioning here in the city too. So there's still an important demographic to consider. Trying to figure out the strategies on capturing those individuals, you know, is obviously a little bit more challenging. And that's where, like for those types of things, it's trying to figure out how do you engage the local businesses to help you message to non-residents about, you know, what their involvement could be and how they can engage in the process. And it might be in certain facets that you're trying to get truly external stakeholders involved in that conversation, but it's still a valid point. I mean, how many times have any one of us driven through a city and that we frequent and going, how did they plan this? You know, because there was no plan. And it's clear there was no plan. And so not as a resident of that place, but a place that you'd go visit. And so I think it's important to take those perspectives into account and figure out how to capture that and at least have an understanding of what it is. Does it mean it's your like a core decision making, you know, group? Not necessarily, but it could be extremely insightful, especially from the business community side of things, about what the expectations are and what they're hoping to achieve. And then as you're figuring out land use for the, you know, the other areas in the community, what that might look like and how it could be perceived externally. So.
I don't know how many times on the farmer's market I've been out there and there are quite a few tourists that come
Oh, yeah.
to visit us. Now, I don't know either. And I asked them, like, what brought you here? Or how did you get here? And they'll say, oh, a friend or a relative, or they just heard about us or that they read about us in a magazine like Spokane Living. But that's a huge draw, is tourism, especially for the businesses in the community.
Mhm.
And now, do I know how you would ever go about getting that information? No, but, but at least you know, it might be something during this year at the farmer's market, we could try harder to get some more information on that.
I mean,
Visit Spokane may also have that information. So
Okay.
that's
I mean,
a great
there's
thought.
so many events like that. I mean, you think about like farmer's market, the garage sale in June. People, I mean, the
yes.
amount of people that come into the community for that garage sale is absolutely crazy. The
The
rim ride.
Yes,
I mean-
there's just so many,
So
And I
Sure,
think
yeah.
we get some residual too of this because of events such as Bloomsday, and we get some of the residual because people stay here, people eat here, people.
I do hope that the effort that you and are making, Lisa, gets, and I'm sure it will, but we've been thinking about the city council's desire to sort of showcase their efforts to be transparent and how that might occur. I mean, this feeds nicely into that,
Mhm.
which perhaps is a different topic, but I think we need to make those points, draw those connective lines.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And again, the planning department, PEBs, were part of the administration. We are an arm of the mayor and city council, and we do very much strive for the transparency that you're talking about. And we're transparent because the council and the electeds value transparency. So, yeah, absolutely.
On the external
Uh-huh.
side of things, I guess for me, I have some questions just personally about what the why. Not an overall why, but what the individual whys are for that. So is it that we would maybe want endorsements from those other places? Do we want their audience? Do we want mutual things from them? So I feel like a lot of this is us trying to be inclusive as much as we can and get as much as we can, but also stakeholders, it kind of goes both ways, right? So is that media? Is that, I mean, already I can see that there's a lot of things you could put in print in little articles, whether it's tourism or more government-y sort of civil stuff, public access channels, etc.
Well, let me share with you a perspective a little bit. I mean, yes, there's external stakeholders that are people that experience our community in different ways and
Sure.
should be included because they are a part of our community, even if they don't necessarily live in our community.
And I see those as internal sometimes too, so that's
Yeah.
kind of,
But external, when we're talking about other governmental agencies, other municipalities, or other more regional groups, it's important to realize that everybody in the county is doing this planning at the same time, all the jurisdictions. Liberty Lake is not an island. We're a 6.5 square mile city. And when you talk about things like climate resiliency, guess what? The way we're going to have a positive impact for our residents is by collaborating with the external jurisdictions. And there's agencies that have more levers than we do, like SRTC, like the Clean Air Agency, like the STA. These are agencies that actually really have some pretty major levers within those conversations. And it is important that we try and collaborate and be consistent with, and we will have our own unique Liberty Lake take on all of that. But at the same time, it's important that we're not acting as an island, but we're part of the larger community.
and to be clear, I'm not questioning the why. I'm more trying to reverse engineer it. So what is the why for each of those externals, and maybe we're the stakeholder, I guess is what I'm saying in those scenarios, like it was STA or something like that. That's kind of where I'm
That's
going with
good
that one.
segue to the next slide, which is, oh, well, I guess it's the following slides. One of the questions was really, do we need to strategize differently for different elements, for different stakeholder groups? And I think the answer is yes. And as we start to take the deep dive in, I think that we'll get more to it, but this was just our first blush. Just wanted to hear your thoughts on these things. So what methods for engagement? What are the different methods for different stakeholders, and what are the different methods or different types of engagement? And I want to say that, and you said this back in the beginning, I think it was Aaron who suggested this, possibly you, Summer, about that, the chart of like who's responsible for what, there are things that we don't get to decide in this.
Right.
And so those types of things like our housing allocation, we have some ability to shape how we address the housing demand that we're going to have in the future. And there's different ways to crack that nut. But what our responsibility is for meeting those population and housing allocations is decided by those other than us. And so for something like that, the only appropriate type of engagement is really one of education and informing. This is what it is. Now, but we want to be more collaborative when it comes to, so how do we address it?
Mhm.
The what is being defined for us, the how is within some pretty narrow parameters still within our area of control.
Yeah. Yeah, that was definitely, I mean, that was Summer's idea, and I think it's a really good one. I think where my head started to go as you were kind of talking is like, the chart you showed at the beginning of kind of, inform all the way to being involved in making decisions, right? So if you take that same kind of concept with what you're talking about, so people can see these are the areas that I can be physically engaged in making decisions on. And here's the areas where I really can't make decisions on, but I can at least be more informed and have an educated conversation about it. And maybe help guide things in the future in a different way, but at least I know where things are. So I think the more you can, the more we can create those graphics, as Summer had talked about, I think the better, especially on things like that. So, I- think of it like in terms of like red, yellow, green light. Red light, you're not going to be able to inform the decision as far as what it is. You can help guide a conversation about how it's implemented, but you're not going to change what it is. Yellow, you might be able to have a little input. Green, you've got all the input in the world. I mean, you can really make it in simple terms. They're like, okay, red light, I know what that means. Yellow light, green light. I mean, it's something everybody can kind of relate to. As a way to help, go, okay, well, here's where my conversation is going to be meaningful, right? So my conversation, if I want to guide not just implementation, but what it looks like, what it is, what it feels, all the things, I need to spend my time on green categories. If I want to figure out how do I help guide the implementation, it's already defined, then maybe that's a yellow or a red, and then that's where I can spend my time. So if thinking about in those terms is,
I love that. I love that concept. And what I think is really valuable about it is we're going to have so much information that we're pushing out to the public. There is going to be engagement overload.
right,
And so if we help people be able to target the things that are most important to them in terms of how they plug into this, I think that's a really great suggestion.
yeah.
As much as I love everything that ever comes out of Aaron's mouth,
You can
I-
totally
I'm
disagree,
just
and
saying,
I will
it's
respect
gonna
you for
be-
that.
It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. I don't know if I might have to couch this in something else. But to me, if I see a government organization telling me, Red, you cannot engage with this, I'm not gonna be a happy citizen personally.
Yeah, no, it's
So-
fair. Yeah,
so
no, I
I'm not saying
agree. I
that you
agree.
purples or whatever, but I am saying just whatever, regardless of getting into the weeds of that, whatever really just shows me I can continue in this direction. And this day and age, a lot of the times, if you see a website and everything is not a hyperlink and some things are a hyperlink, my brain immediately knows, those are the rules. This is where I can play. So
Right.
something about the interactivity
Yeah,
of
it's a
the
great
things
way.
I
And
can do.
I think that
Yeah.
I think we can achieve
Okay.
that. And I think that we can achieve that using some tools like Story Map and whatnot.
Right,
Yeah.
where
And,
it
but,
becomes
but
life.
and I think that your point is well taken. We're going to have to be very careful in our wordsmithing of it.
Yeah,
The
These are
delivery.
legal requirements,
right.
not using the word mandate, although
Yeah,
that's what
yeah,
would roll
yeah.
off my tongue, but
Right.
people.
Mandate, ordinance, all the things that people go, I don't like that word. And yeah,
Right.
I
These
could-
are our
yeah.
legal requirements. We have to do this.
right.
These are the things where we have the ability to shape the future. of
Your
living
voice, your
life.
choice
Yeah.
type of.
And
Yeah.
that's, I think, the delivery of that message will be important.
Well, and even the order of which you have them listed. So like going back to your point, right? That's why we work well together. So going back to your point, which is going, okay, well, if I had the red ones or purple or whichever ones, I'm not going to be able to really
Sure.
drive from a discussion standpoint. Those ones, while they'll be important, aren't going to be the ones that you're going to want necessarily the most feedback on. The ones that are green, right? Maybe that's where you want the most feedback from. Or, you got to rank choice order all of these different pieces. And if you do it in terms of the areas where you need and or want the most engagement, the things that are going to be most likely, most pressing for folks, at least from like a website ordering standpoint, that'll make more sense, right?
and
The
there are-
boxes, just like one more, going back to the pop-up boxes, that's where you can also drive additional engagement, where you're going, hey, this is a hot button topic. Maybe it's even one of those purple ones. But it's a hot button topic and we want to make sure people are aware of what it is.
So let me just say that because I'm talking like, I'm talking like a planner again, and when I talk about story maps, that's exactly what Story Map does. It has high-level information, and then you can jump in to these pop-ups. You can decide to take the deeper dive on any single one of these, where you go and get more engagement on whatever piece of it that you're interested in. That's the beauty of Story Map.
Is there a way to
And
take
you can
that
also
same?
survey, and you can also survey in there. You can also target, like, you can also identify different, have people self-identify and figure out which different demographics have which particular concern about which particular topic.
Yeah, is there a way to take that same program? Because I really, and dump it into the high school, for instance, and say, hey, here's, this is what it is. This is how we use it. We're going to give you a test run on the back end just to play with it and build out a planning process on a small scale. Like give them a couple of things that they could build out some things. I mean, I don't know what the system looks like, but
So-
that's from a creative standpoint, engaging the students differently. Like that would, to me, like if I was a high school kid, that would be fun.
That's what
Right.
we think GIS Urban will enable us to do. We're still, they're still doing the data dump for us. The
Yep.
data download and doing we're developing some of the scenarios related to the land capacity analysis that tells us how much land we have left and what categories of development can occur there. So we are working on that, and that is something that you can play with levers on. And so I envision that we're going to get to a place where either through a story map using GIS Urban, people would have a chance to move those levers and whatnot and see what that looks like in reality. How the user interface will.
Yeah, that's a whole
we're-
different thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
I still-
we're learning. Or
To be
we actually-
continued, right?
Yes, exactly. So, but we know it's a powerful tool, and we do want to have those types of interactions with not just the high school kids, but with all sorts of people, and maybe taking it to the, as you said, the farmer's market or whatever. So again, we're just trying to kind of get a feel from you all.
Cynthia, are you still on? Would you like to add anything into the conversation? I don't want to forget
Where's
you. Where's
Oh,
Cyn-
I'm still here. No, it's very, very interesting. Nope, I'm good.
Okay,
It's so hard to be on Zoom. It's so hard to be on Zoom.
So I just want to open it up for any parting words from anyone. We will be coming back to you again. We will be coming with more information on the public engagement. We are going to have the engagement that's related to climate resiliency that is very specific. There's a lot of technical to that, but there's also a lot of looking at environmental justice, vulnerable populations, et cetera. And so that's going to be, and we're using that kind of as a model for what we hope to do with the rest of our public engagement plan, because I've got consultants who have already done this in other communities in Washington who are helping to develop that. And so we want to use that as kind of a template for what we bring back to you. Hoping to have, as I said, when we get a little farther along in the public engagement planning process, probably later this summer or into the fall, we'll probably want to schedule some sort of a joint engagement or a joint community engagement planning commission meeting where we can together look at, we'll hopefully have kind of a skeleton of it at that point and really get your input and try and fine tune. But I will say this about the public engagement plan. What we put forward at the beginning is going to be a draft.
Mhm.
It's going to be a living document, and we're going to be adding to it and expanding upon it as we go through the entire comprehensive planning process. At the end of this, we will also have The public engagement plan will also include an engagement summary and which becomes an appendix to the comprehensive plan. So part of the story of the comprehensive plan is not just the plan itself, but how the people of our community, how the different groups, how the different stakeholders all helped envision this comprehensive plan. So exciting times.
I want to
Yeah.
add to that, I've seen where comprehensive plans are put together and they do not get enough public involvement. When they go to the state to get approved, they get shot right back to the community and say, you know, you need to do this, this, and this. So I see the effort up front of us making sure we have enough community, because I've seen them rejected and they will do it. So I think we're on the right path of community involvement and making sure we touch all of those little demographics. And the last thing I'd like to say is, you know, I'm retired and I know you guys work, but use us. I mean,
Absolutely.
you know how much I can watch CNN? Come on, use me.
I would very much,
I can't take it anymore.
this is the endeavor where we're gonna need a lot of people to help us paint the
Soldiers.
fence. And you guys are the perfect commission to engage in the engagement.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for your willingness to help us. I think it will be a fun process. I think it'll be a frustrating process at times. But I think that as was pointed out, if we use the right language, if we approach people in the right way, if
Yeah.
they see the opportunity for them to shape our future, they're going to want to be at the table. And if we do it well, they're going to want to continue to stay at the table even after the adoption of the common.
I got an idea and I can't remember, it might have been you, can't remember who started it, but you know, we talk about the events in the park. And you know, they do bring the people in our demographics we want to see, and this is just a crazy idea, but I'm going with summer here. If we could wear some lime green shirts, or really an ugly color that says, ask me about the comp plan. And have us walking around the park and maybe having flyers, and you know, people will come up to us and say, now, what are you talking about? And that's a really good way to engage on one-on-one. So put down the ugly green shirts.
Ugly, ugly.
Well, you can have red, she'll have green, and he'll wear yellow.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
You gotta have some quirky saying on it,
Exactly.
like some weird, like comp what, or, I mean,
Exactly.
something that's gonna be like,
That plan?
yeah, I mean, like,
Yeah.
what?
Got
Yeah.
it.
Sorry, Arlene. I can't.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to wear a shirt.
Yeah.
Again, I want to thank you all so
Thank you.
much.
Thank
for,
you.
Thank you for
being part of
joining.
this.
Cool. Thanks,
Thank you
Lisa.
so much.
Thank you, Lisa. Okay,
Staff. This
next meeting,
Wednesday.
May 15th. That's like this week, day after tomorrow, 6:00 PM. Yes,
Not counting.
that's,
I
You're
want
not
it down on
counting.
the website for the conference.
anything,
That's it.
if there's nothing else, I think we've done really well, gave Lisa some ideas, and we can adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lance.